It is 1:22 in the morning. Clearly the best time to talk about Revenge of the Sith. So, for all 5 of you who aren't aware, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, released 20 years ago as of a couple weeks ago. Yeah, May 19th. And it got a re-release last month in theaters, which I went to go see. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it because this is one of the more interesting Star Wars stuff to talk about. Not my favorite. I don't think it's controversial to say that I think the original trilogy are vastly superior. But, you know, this is still, I think, universally read upon to be the best of the prequels. And a comparison to the sequels is something for another time. But anyway, as you can no doubt tell by how I look, I obviously did not watch this 20 years ago because I was a little kid. I didn't actually watch a Star Wars movie until I was like 12. I sort of watched them all kind of in a row, although out of order. You want to know what order I watched all the Star Wars movies in? I watched A New Hope, Phantom Menace, Return of the Jedi, Attack of the Clones, The Empire Strikes Back, and Revenge of the Sith. Of the original 6, that is the order in which I watched them. And yeah, it kind of doesn't make any sense to watch Episode 6 before Episode 5. I don't know. Episode 5 is still my favorite. So clearly watching it out of order didn't really affect me. But yeah, my parents were the type that wouldn't allow me to watch PG-13 movies until I turned 13. So I had to wait to watch Jurassic Park until I was like 13, despite how much I loved dinosaurs back when I was a kid. And the same thing was for Revenge of the Sith, although in that case, it was only like a few months, probably. And when I saw it at age 13, I don't remember exactly what I thought. I remember thinking the lightsaber fights were cool. I remember liking it more than the other 2 prequels, which, even as like a 12-year-old, I thought Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones were pretty boring. Yeah, I would put on Phantom Menace every once in a while, but it was kind of just to watch the action stuff, like the pod race and the battle with Darth Maul at the end. Revenge of the Sith, admittedly, it didn't have a very high bar to clear, but it sure cleared it. And over the years, I've sort of kind of flip-flopped in my opinion. I mean, I always thought it was the best prequel, but like whether or not it was like a decent movie was where, because sometimes I'm just like, oh, what is this? What is this dialogue? This is crap. And then other times it's like, whoa, hey, this like some of these set pieces are really fun. Right now I kind of land on the side of it's decent, it's good, but there are so many people like around my age who like maybe a little older who say this is like one of the best, if not the best, Star Wars movies. And no, I'm sorry. It's not. We'll get to talking about that. I want to make this a little shorter, partly because it's like, you know, 1:26 in the morning. And also just that this is one movie. This isn't like the X-Men films video where I talked for an hour and a half. I guess like the sort of reason I made this was because, like I said, I went to see the re-release in theaters because, you know, I'd never seen it in theaters. I obviously couldn't have before, but I did now, and it was fun. However, the screen I was watching at had a bit of a problem. Like, about the halfway point of the movie, I think just after Obi-Wan left Coruscant to go to Utapau, the screen at some point started to have sort of this bluish tint to it that is not in the DVD release and is not on the Disney Plus release. I think it was definitely the screen's fault. I mean, like, other people in the theater noted that too. But I just thought it was worth mentioning. Like, it is always great to hear like John Williams music come out of those speakers. Yeah. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. Like, and I'm very glad I went to see this one because I know Attack of the Clones was also re-released a couple years ago, and if I saw that, I would have just been bored out of my mind. I really do not like Attack of the Clones. It is one of my least favorite Star Wars movies. But again, I enjoyed my time with Revenge of the Sith. So, I'm gonna not do a plot synopsis because everyone knows what the plot is, and I feel like that would just be kind of redundant. I just sort of want to go over the things that I picked up on. So I guess the first thing I noticed was like watching it on a large theater screen. The CGI, Revenge of the Sith, like obviously automatically has a much better CGI than the previous two due to the advancements being made between 1995 and 2005. For the most part, they hold up fine. I think General Grievous and Yoda are the best looking ones, which is obvious because like they're usually the center of attention. Like they're going to be what you're looking at for the most part. The ships look pretty good. A lot of the landscapes look pretty good. Although, like, if Coruscant were like made today, the buildings would have a lot more detail and a little less of that CG sheen on it, because just effects have gotten better. You know, of course, assuming the effects have the proper time dedicated to them, unlike a lot of more recent movies. Marvel. But some of these effects don't look very good. I've always found it really weird that the clone troopers are CGI. Like, how hard is it to just get, like, Temuera Morrison and some other actors to dress up in clone trooper outfits? Like, that scene in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Disney Plus show, where, like, this retired homeless trooper is lying on the floor asking for change. That is the first time Temuera Morrison ever put on the clone trooper outfit. That is baffling to me. Like, he's in the movie. Like, you see him, like, at least his head CG'd onto, like, a clone trooper body. Like, you know, when he's, like, handing Obi-Wan his lightsaber. Oh, by the way, I think I'll be needing this. And then, you know, with, like, some of the clones who are flying stuff where they have, like, you know, regular, like, pilot helmets, you know, that's him there. But for the most part, like, they're CG for some reason, and they don't look very good. That lizard thing that Obi-Wan rides, I don't remember its name. I don't think it's just set in the movie. That looks really bad. Like, the design is okay, but like, oh, whoever did the keying on it is not aged well at all. Obi-Wan never looks like he's riding that thing. It never looks like it's actually there. There's always like this little bit of like, sort of like, you know how often in bad green screen you'll see like an outline around a person? Like, the Star Wars prequels generally don't do that, but, like, it kind of feels like it's that on the lizard thing, even though the lizard is CG. It doesn't need to be green screened. But yeah, the effects overall hold up fine. I think, in terms of cinematography, this is probably the best of the 9. Like, there's a lot of, like, large, big-scale shots, like, especially in the first battle. Especially in the Battle of Coruscant, with all the ships flying around. That is some really, really cool shot composition and movements, you know, following the ships and stuff. It makes you feel really big. That is stuff that makes me very glad that I saw this in the theater. And, like, obviously the original trilogy can't really do that because they were using models, and, you know, they sort of have to, like, make sure to position them, like, properly so they don't, like, fall apart. And with CG, you don't have to worry about that. I didn't really think the space battles in Phantom Menace or some of the sequels were all that interesting. But yeah, lightsaber fights were, for the most part, quite good. Like, the fight between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Dooku at the beginning is pretty good. Like, their fight in Attack of the Clones was awful, because, like, it just sort of felt like a lot of... There's this whole thing where they're, like, twirling their lightsabers over their head and just sort of going... It just feels weird. Not here. Like, aside from an unnecessary CG flip, like, at the beginning, like, this, it does look pretty good. And, like, the stunt double for Dooku is generally convincing here. Like, it does look a little strange when, Dooku knocks Obi-Wan to the ground and, like, kind of tries to flatten the ship and just kind of hilariously, pathetically shoves the, Obi-Wan body double aside. I really like Dooku's death scene as well. Like, for the most part, like, the Battle of Coruscant is kind of a popcorn flick thing. Like, you know, it's just sort of it's just fun. You know, not super high stakes. I mean, which is weird because, like, the Chancellor of the Republic has been kidnapped there. But, like, you know, Anakin has cut off Dooku's hands. He's got both his and Dooku's lightsabers. And he's ready to cut his head off. And he's, like, really conflicted over it. I shouldn't. And, Dooku. Apparently, the original plan was for Dooku to beg for his life, but Christopher Lee told George Lucas that that would be out of character for him, and George was like, "All right," and so Dooku's just sort of in silent shock. Which I mean, Dooku, you could just tell him that Palpatine is the Sith Lord, but but I get it, and it does lead to a nice scene, even if Palpatine chews the scenery a little bit more than he needs to, do it. And Anakin cuts his head off, even though it's framed a little weird. They can't really show Dooku's head being cut off, so it's just sort of the top sling. So it's like, and Anakin's face is strange, but, like, that sound that makes, like, that is weird. And like it cuts to like sort of a wide shot to see Dooku's body falling, and you kind of see his head roll away, and like that's not quite on the level of Return of the King, where the orcs catapult the Gondorian soldiers' decapitated heads over the wall. Like, that is brutal. But for Star Wars, that's pretty up there. Grievous, man. Yeah, I know Grievous is a big meme machine, and the memes are funny, but I don't think he's all that great in this movie. He's better in the Clone Wars, where he has more screen time, even then he sort of runs away a lot. Obviously, he is not the 2003 miniseries, which came out first, when Grievous's character was still sort of in progress. That had him as this sort of unstoppable juggernaut that could just, like, murders Jedi left and right. George Lucas, like, partway through Revenge of the Sith's development, was like, let's make Grievous this more Snively Whiplash kind of thing, where he just sort of twirls his mustache, figuratively twirls his mustache, and runs away. And like, I don't know. With a character like this large and imposing looking, you kind of want something like a little more intimidating than that. I mean, granted, I can quote all of Grievous's lines by heart, so that it's something, right?
Ah, the negotiator, General Kenobi. We've been waiting for you. It wasn't much of a rescue.
Yeah, Jesus. Hey, by the way, I recommend you go watch like a video of like Matthew Wood recording Grievous's lines, like in a recording booth. He sounds nothing like him, but that shows how much of a filter they put on him in the final film. And it's also just fun to watch him ham it up in the studio. I can't imagine what that voice does to his vocal cords. I wish we got a bit more with like the Jedi actually doing stuff. We get to see Yoda go to Kashyyyk to see the Wookiees. And this is kind of cool because like the original plan for Return of the Jedi was that Endor was going to be populated by a bunch of Wookiees. But they realized that because Chewbacca is like super adept with tech, they were like, would this really be all that convincing? And so that's why they made the Ewoks. Well, here they can revisit the whole Wookiee planet, and yeah, they do know how to use tech, and it's kind of cool, although it doesn't really mean much aside from like one charge and Chewie helping Yoda escape from the clones. I'm going to talk about the middle part of the movie, because this is where this movie kind of dips. Like, when people, like, talk about, oh man, this movie's so awesome, I'm like, the entire middle part exists where the movie just slows way down. And, like, some important stuff happens. Like, this is where Anakin, has the dreams about Padme dying. And Yoda gives him some not very helpful advice. And so Palpatine's like, oh, the Jedi don't trust you. Honestly, in my opinion, like, Palpatine's play that the Jedi are going to take over the Republic is so stupid. Like, why does that need to be, like, his thing, like, to, like, help convince Anakin? The Jedi obviously don't trust Anakin. It should just be Palpatine just playing off those fears and, like, with more, subtle stuff, unless, oh, the Jedi want to take over, because they've never shown any, like, there's nothing in them that implies that that they want to do that, and Anakin knows that. Apparently, like, the Anakin wanting to save Padme from dying was a fairly late addition to the scripts. I guess because, like, well, the whole Jedi thing is kind of a not super great reason for Anakin to just turn. So they need this thing of like Palpatine potentially having the a way to like save Padme, and Anakin is just so desperate that he just has to like find out, like even after Palpatine reveals he's a Sith Lord. And I'm not exactly sure if this was like Palpatine's plan, but like it is very, the way he set things up, because Palpatine is obviously controlling both sides of the war, do make it quite convenient for both Yoda and Obi-Wan to be away from the Coruscant, so that Anakin would be easier to attempt to join the dark side. I mean, it works, especially since Mace Windu's kind of a jerk. I know a lot of fans like to like play up like Mace Windu being this jerk guy who just like is just like this grumpy Gus, and I'm like, some of you guys are going too far, but like I do understand Anakin's frustration. Although, like, if anything, like the whole, how could you do this? How could you be on the council and not be a master? And I'm like, Anakin, you just demonstrated why you should be a master, because he responded very immaturely. I mean, granted, he realizes his mistake, but like that is kind of interesting that like Palpatine, sort of gets that idea in Anakin's head, like playing up his like, oh, Anakin, you're this awesome hero guy, you should be respected more. Like, I feel like that is a much more compelling thing to go than, oh, the Jedi might be trying to take over the Republic. Yeah, Obi-Wan's fight with Grievous is fine. The lightsaber fight is actually pretty short. I think it's like under a minute. And then like Grievous gets on his little wheel thing and drives off, and Obi-Wan chases him with more bad CG lizard. I like how Obi-Wan defeats Grievous, like, pulls open his chest plates to see like his organs, which, how the hell does this guy function like that? There's a really fun episode of the Clone Wars, it's season 1 actually, where you get to see where Grievous like upgrades himself, and like they start to show like how that process works. They like cut open his mask, but they cut away. But Obi-Wan gets a blaster, shoots those parts. Grievous burns up alive, which that's pretty gruesome. And he goes, Obi-Wan just goes, so uncivilized, throws it away. Which, call it back to A New Hope for sure. But it's cute. The romance scenes with Padme are pretty lame. There was a sequence that was cut from the final, that was filmed but cut from the final film. You can see it on like the extras on the DVD, where Padme and Bail Organa, Jimmy Smits, and Mon Mothma like talk about, the Chancellor is getting a little too, he's starting to like kind of act like a dictator, kinda. Like, we need to like do something about this, sort of forming the siege for the Rebel Alliance. I kind of wish that was kept in, but admittedly it would have dragged this middle part even longer. But like, it would have given Padme something to do, because for the rest of the movie she's just kind of standing there, acting as kind of emotional support. Yeah, I know she's pregnant, but like, I feel like she could at least say a little something more, like interact with like more people than just Anakin and Obi-Wan. The fight in Palpatine's office is terrible. Like, there was something going on with like the stunt doubles not being available or something, so Ian McDiarmid had to do a lot of the fight work himself. And though he's had experience fencing, he was a Shakespeare theater thespian, but it does not. It doesn't look very good. Like, obviously, like, everyone's made fun of like the Sheev spin, the obvious CG spin with his. It's funny, if you listen to that sound without the demonic echo added to it, it just sort of sounds like Palpatine, like he just lost the game of Rocket League, so they go like, ah. Yeah, he does the Sheev spin. He just kills like one of the Jedi right away, and like backhands another one. And like, you idiots, why don't you do any of these others? Kit Fisto gets a couple strikes, and then he just sort of dies. There's a fan animated remake of like Anakin versus Obi-Wan. Just want to make like a remake of like this fight and actually make it cool. Like, sort of like Palpatine versus, Darth Maul and Savage from the Clone Wars. That fight was awesome. This is supposed to be a battle between like the two best lightsaber duelists of like the in the galaxy, like Palpatine, Mace Windu. And I don't know, this doesn't really sell me on either's fighting capability. There's sort of an ambiguity to whether or not Mace Windu actually defeated Palpatine or if Palpatine threw the fight. I think it's a little bit of both. I think Windu was the stronger fighter, but Palpatine was absolutely playing up his defenselessness to get Anakin on his side with some of the silliest dialogue and faces of the bunch. Anakin, thank goodness. I told you about this. I was right. The Jedi are taking over. Like, the oppression of the Sith will never return. You have lost. No. You will die. It just looks silly. And like, Palpatine continuing to blast, even though Mace Windu is clearly blocking his things at him, which I'm of the opinion that the extremely wrinkly Palpatine face is just how he looks all along, and like his normal look is just sort of a mask, sort of like a magic force thing to use to conceal it. Because the idea of just this lightning making him look like the wrinkled, old, ambiguously human guy from Return of the Jedi is just silly. They clearly want to give Anakin time to like act, because Mace Windu, instead of just just stabbing him, he has to go and just wait for like Anakin to go, I need him, and then that's when he slices his arm off, and Palpatine blasts him out the window. And then Palpatine for some reason just speaks in this really deep echo for the next like minute, which is then gone after he gives Darth Vader his name. I don't get that. So then we have Order 66, which has incredible music and is like, this giant thing of everyone's screwed. And I think this would be enhanced by later stuff, like the Clone Wars, obviously. The Mandalorian is a pretty good sequence. Even the Obi-Wan Kenobi show has a decent like scene to it. Oh, the Bad Batch. And Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is like my favorite, because you play through it. You gotta actually like avoid all the clones. Here I'm watching it, and like I love the music, but these Jedi, man, like Candy Mundi like manages to like sort of hit a few of them, and then he just sort of gets hit and dies. Okay, but like Ayla Secura, the Twi'lek one with the head tails and the big chest that ensured that she would become the most popular of the bunch. She doesn't even get to do anything. She just sort of throws her arms up in the air as they shoot her to death. And they just keep shooting her, even though she's clearly already dead. Granted, like, Plo Koon, I don't know what he would have done, because, like, his troops were behind him and they just started firing at him. I don't know what he would have done there. And I don't remember what this other one was. She was also, like, out of speed, and they sort of blast her down. The way it's shot is very strange, because, like, we see, like, it's split into two parts. One goes, like, flying off to the side, and the other part of her water speeder like falls into the water and like splashes the screen. So I don't know what happened with her. I do like how they deliberately save Yoda for last. Like, I like the idea that Palpatine is just wants Yoda to feel all this death happening, just so you can like make him suffer. But it also means that Yoda gets an idea of what's going on, and so when he sends 2 troopers to kill Yoda, Yoda just easily decapitates them. I wonder what the Wookiees thought when they saw that happen. What were they thinking? What was Chewie thinking about that? Of course, we get that hilariously stilted line from that poor child actor. Master Skywalker! There are too many of them! What are we going to do? I can't tell if he's actually British or trying a British accent. That's how weird that line delivery is. And I'm like, I don't like picking on child actors, but like, couldn't you have done a couple more takes? And, Anakin, ignites his lightsaber. I say, we never actually see Anakin kill anyone in the Order 66 montage. We see him about to kill all those younglings. We see him battling some Jedi in a hologram, but like, that's it. I want to see more. I wanted to see more of that. I imagine they did shoot more. They did shoot like a fight between Anakin and another Jedi. That was cut, I assume, for pacing reasons. Shaak Ti, the Togruta one with the very long horns and head tails. She dies twice in deleted scenes. Like, She gets killed by Grievous at the beginning of the movie, which, I mean, that would have showed Grievous as a more credible threat there, but that was cut. And so her second death scene was that she's like meditating in the Jedi Temple, and Anakin stabs her in the back. And I think that one's considered canon because we see in a flash forward that Yoda gets in the Clone Wars, one of them shows like Shaak Ti like sitting there and then getting stabbed with a blue lightsaber. Anakin's probably. But yeah, on paper this should be really effective. But like if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, are you really gonna care? Because like I wouldn't have even known these characters' names if it weren't for the Clone Wars. I would just go like, oh, not that Jedi. I cared so much about that one. Anyway, I saw the Clone Wars, I think right when it came to like Netflix. I think which is like right when the 6th season aired. I don't know. So I was saying, I don't know if this scene really works all that well on its own. It's definitely enhanced when you have the Clone Wars and all this other extended material to get you to care about them. So like seeing like Plo Koon die like in the movie itself, that's kind of sucks, but we don't really know. He didn't get any lines either. But like after watching the Clone Wars, where you see like how much he cares about his troops, like we're just clones, sir. We're meant to be expendable.
Not to me.
Plo Koon is like the best Jedi ever, honestly, in the Clone Wars. So now, like with that knowledge, it is a little more painful to watch. But I really dislike having to use supplementary material to like get the most out of something. That's why I really don't like how like all the Disney Plus Marvel stuff is like, oh, you want to watch the Marvels? Well, I hope you watched Ms. Marvel and Secret Invasion. I didn't, so watching the Marvels, I was just like, who the hell are these guys? I like Bail Organa's involvement. I think he should have been a bit more of the movie. Again, like another reason that Padme scene shouldn't have been cut. Because we see Anakin acknowledge him for like 5 seconds toward the beginning. But then we don't see him again until like Order 66, where he gets suspicious of what happens, why the Jedi Temple's on fire. And so he goes there, he sees like a Jedi Padawan played by George Lucas's son, Jet. You see that Padawan that get gunned down, and that's when he realizes something's up. And so he goes off to find Yoda and Obi-Wan. And to give the clone troopers some credit, even though they shoot down Obi-Wan, like he should have died from that giant fall into the water. I don't care what the Force can do. But to give them credit, they don't just assume he's dead. They go to keep searching because they didn't find his body. Palpatine is like he's in top form here. Obviously giving his speech to the Senate.
The attempt on my life has left me scarred and deformed, but my resolve has never been stronger.
The line that Padme gives is a little silly. So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. But I will admit there are a number of situations in the real world where that could potentially be an appropriate statement to make. Something I appreciate is how Anakin's behavior subtly changes, like towards Padme specifically. Like before he joins Palpatine, he is generally speaking as a concerned husband. He can be a little like dismissive of her feelings, but like you can tell he cares. But then after he joins her, like he's suddenly speaks. His tone is a lot more condescending. Like he's not taking her as seriously anymore. He goes to Mustafar, he kills the Separatists. There's this one throwaway line that I missed, like, in my first viewing, where Anakin Vader says that, like, so the Separatists have been destroyed, and Palpatine tells, shut down all enemy droids. It's obviously to explain, why did all the droids stop fighting? And I don't know, that shouldn't be like a whole throwaway. Like, we should have at least seen like all the droids like shut down at the end. I don't know. Obi-Wan and Yoda like finding out that Anakin joined Palpatine. That's handled fine. Like, Ewan McGregor is clearly like delivers the best performance of the bunch. Like, I'm just watching his expression, watching the hologram, like, I can't be. And he really suggests that he should go kill the Emperor just because he just will not kill Anakin. And like even during their big fight, it's clear Obi-Wan isn't really trying to kill him. He's just trying to like wear him down. So I appreciate that, despite what Anakin says. You know, when Padme, another deleted scene is that Padme was initially going to like, when she goes to find Anakin and Mustafar, she was going to bring a knife to sort of like, if he like really does turn out to be as bad, so that she can kill him. I am glad that was cut, because like it needs Anakin. The scene needs Anakin to be the one completely in the wrong, because it doesn't really make sense if Anakin sees Obi-Wan and goes,
"You're with him! You brought him here to kill me!"
and Padme has a knife to kill him. Yeah, Hayden Christensen's acting is a lot better here than it is in Attack of the Clones. He sounds more like a normal person rather than this whole "it's all Obi-Wan's fault." There's still some weird, silly line delivery from him, especially during the romance scenes, like, "You're so beautiful." This is weird. I never got this. Like, "Oh, it's because I'm so in love with you. So love has blinded you." What? What? I get that, like, some people interpreted them is that they're very giddy upon seeing each other for the first time in months, and that, you know, as a Jedi and a Senator, they probably wouldn't have the best knowledge of normal interactions, but like, when you're making your audience cringe, I think that's where I draw the line. And like, it's nowhere near as bad as it is in Attack of the Clones, because not nearly as much time is spent on it. Hayden's really good at silent moments. Like, I think maybe the best scene in the movie is like when Anakin is just sitting in the Jedi Council chambers. He's looking out the window and Padme is looking out her window, and like they're just sort of thinking about like what's going on, and like Anakin like sheds a tear. Like that actually is pretty powerful. A lot more than like any of the dialogue they share. I know, it's a meme to pick on George Lucas dialogue, but there's a reason why we do it. When like Padme goes like confront Anakin, it does feel kind of silly, both from the acting, like Anakin, "Love can't save you, Padme. Only my new powers can do that." Like, he sort of switches accents like 3 times. Like, Hayden Christensen has sort of a New England accent. It's sort of, I don't even know what he's going for there. I think he's trying to go for like an approximation of Darth Vader's mid-Atlantic accent, the one that James Earl Jones uses. And it sounds strange. I don't know where he gets this idea that Padme and Obi-Wan have an affair. I know there was like, again, in like earlier works of the script, that there was going to be a little bit something more there, but here it just seems like Anakin just comes to that conclusion out of nowhere. Like, there is an earlier scene where Anakin and Padme are in their apartment, and he goes, "Obi-Wan's been here, hasn't they?" And Padme says, "Yes, yesterday. He was worried about you." So it's pretty clear that he was there because he was concerned about Anakin, not because he wanted to see Padme. So I don't know why Anakin got that conclusion. I feel like some of this could be solved with like one rewrite. The dialogue between Anakin and Obi-Wan just before they fight is so weird. Like, obviously there's the "only a Sith deals in absolutes," which is an absolute. Like, if Anakin just goes, "If you're not with me, then you're my enemy," all Obi-Wan could do is go like, "Then I'm sorry, Anakin, but I will do what I must." And then Anakin will just go, "You will try." And then fight begins. I get why they have the Anakin and Obi-Wan battle happen at the same time as the Yoda-Palpatine battle. And for the record, that fight is way better than the one in the Chancellor's office, because, you know, as Palpatine's hooded there, they can more easily use the stunt double who is available there. And obviously it's much more fun when it's Palpatine like using the Force to throw Senate chamber pods at Yoda. I think that's what this fight should be. Yoda and Palpatine. Like, if Anakin versus Obi-Wan is a battle of lightsaber skills, then Yoda and Palpatine should be a battle of the Force. There's a little bit of that, like with Yoda trying to absorb Palpatine's lightning and actually kind of succeeding. But there should have been more of that, whereas like Anakin and Obi-Wan have this incredibly, very well choreographed like actual fight. Since that is Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor doing like most of that by themselves. They practiced for months. And yeah, gross. It kind of looks like a dance routine at times, which is, I know, a criticism some have of the Darth Maul fight in The Phantom Menace. And yes, there's still some weird lightsaber twirling around here. But overall, it's impressive. I think it could have been a little shorter. I don't think it needed to, like, fully go into a lava storm. A lava river, but, you know, it's cool. Lets the music go on for way more. Can't talk about John Williams' music. Revenge of the Sith might have, like, the best Star Wars score. I don't know, is this or The Empire Strikes Back? Or Return of the Jedi. That is some amazing music, too. Like, the last third of this movie is, like, one musical masterpiece after another. Because, like, we have Anakin's betrayal for Order 66. We have Anakin's dark deeds for when Palpatine declares the First Galactic Empire, and Anakin kills the Separatists. We have the battle between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda and Palpatine, which has there's Anakin versus Obi-Wan, which transitions to Duel of the Fates, which transitions to Battle of the Heroes. It's really good. Like it honestly does a better job showing like the tragedy of these two like former friends clashing together better than the actual like dialogue does. Once again, I don't know why he goes, I should have known the Jedi were plotting to take over. And I'm like, again, what proof of there was that? Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil! Even though he called him the Emperor like 20 minutes ago. Well, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Well, then you all lost! The whole fight scene with him is like 8 minutes. But combined with the Yoda and Palpatine stuff, it's like 12 minutes, which... yeah, that kind of goes on a little longer than it needs to. But I think it ends in a nice enough note. Obi-Wan cuts off Anakin's legs and one of his arms, which I don't know how he does that. It's very cleverly partly obscured by the camera shot, because I have no idea how that would work. Like, if Anakin's, like, flipping over him, as his Obi-Wan's lightsaber kind of go, like, it sort of has to curve upwards to, like, hit just one of his arms after cutting off his legs. I don't really care if... Ewan McGregor really sells the emotion of this, and, Anakin, all Anakin's just to scream, I hate you! Which a lot of actors have problems doing, like, these big, blood-curdling yells. Hayden Christensen is not one of them. By the way, go watch Shattered Glass if you want, like, a really good Hayden Christensen performance where he's not brought down by George Lucas dialogue. But Obi-Wan also goes, you're my brother, Anakin! I loved you! Which they should have focused more on that, because, like, who cares about, like, the whole Chosen One thing? This is a battle between, like, these lifelong friends. Like, they were, like, again, they were basically brothers. That's what they should have, like, focused on. And especially with the incredibly emotional music, and then Anakin catches fire and Obi-Wan just sort of leaves. I've seen sort of debates on whether Obi-Wan should have left him there, because, like, his thought process is that if he just sort of kills Anakin there, then he's killing a helpless man and is thus no better. But also, leaving Anakin to die is also kind of cruel, and saving Anakin means that he's also just saved a evil war criminal who's probably going to kill him when he recovers. So I kind of get Obi-Wan's dilemma here. And then the rest of the movie sort of jamming everyone into their New Hope starting positions. Actually, after, like, Padme's death, and after Obi-Wan and Yoda decide they're going to go into hiding, and Bail Organa says he'll take Leia to Alderaan, which is the first time we see Alderaan. That's cool. And Obi-Wan will take Luke to Tatooine. There's no dialogue at all. The rest of it is just sort of in silence, letting John Williams' music do all the lifting. Which I think is a nice way to end things off. Palpatine and Darth Vader, now fully suited, oversee the construction of the Death Star. Yeah, Darth Vader's creation, it's kind of cool, but also, like, I like the fact that Palpatine, like, he goes, it seems that in your anger, you killed her. Like, there's this fan theory that, like, Palpatine, like, somehow through the Force drained Padme's life force to help preserve Darth Vader. And if you listen very closely, just before, like, the helmet comes down on Vader's face, he very weakly whispers, Padme, help. Which, I mean, like, considering his vocal cords are ash, that must be incredibly painful. But, like, Vader, like, sort of goes berserk on the room, and James Earl Jones, rest his soul, makes noises that sound like a drunk cow. What is that? What is that? And of course, the big no, or if you watch the bootleg, do not want. Go watch Backstroke Over the West if you haven't already. It is hilarity. It's like a bootleg Chinese translation of anything that uses a lot of swear words. Anakin is a la Gold. Obi-Wan is Ratio Tile. Palpatine is Speaker D. Dooku is just called The. And Grievous is Space General. And the movie ends with Obi-Wan delivering baby Luke to young Owen Beru on Tatooine, and they look out over the binary sunset. That's how the movie ends. Yeah, I did enjoy this one. I enjoyed it about as much as I have previous rewatches, maybe a little more. I've seen this movie like maybe 5 times in my life, which compared to like the original trilogy is fairly small. Honestly, I think I've also watched Phantom Menace more times, although that's mostly just because that's the first of that saga. But yeah, definitely the best of the prequels. I don't know if I had to give it it's like I'd put it in like B tier. Like if I had like a Star Wars tier list, which maybe I'll do sometime in the future, I'd put it in like a B tier. I know a lot of you would put it in S tier. I know someone would put it in D tier. I think it's just good enough. Here's something funny. Revenge of the Sith re-release. The movie was previously at like $850 after its initial run. $850 million after its official run. It's now at $905 million. It made like $55 million next to its re-release, which I think is one of the highest grossing like re-releases ever. So that's pretty neat. In this age where like Star Wars has sort of been diluted thanks to Disney Plus, and like it doesn't really feel all that special anymore, it is nice to see something that is a result of an actual vision, even if that vision is very flawed. I did enjoy it. This is a fun, solid movie. I would not call it a masterpiece. It is absolutely not on the level of the original trilogy. How it compares to like other films, you'll have to see. That should be it for me today. The look at my Nintendo Switch physical collection should be next. See you.